Let us look into the universal laws today. Law 9 and Law 10. The 9th law says the law of relativity. The 10th law is law of polarity. Today, let us try to understand both the universal laws. The universal laws are very important for us to understand. If you understand the law, you will follow the law. If you follow the law, it is very easy not to get trapped in the karma. The law of relativity says that there is always a relation between anything that happens in our life. For every soul that takes human body, there will be tests. Anything that happens in our life, we have to see in the form of tests. The soul undergoes that experience in order to increase the light inside it. Every experience we get at the soul level increases the light inside us. There is always a relation between why it happens. We have to basically do some introspection. We always ask the question outside, so somebody will answer. But when you calm yourself, when you ask the same question to yourself, then you transcend the mind and you start getting the answers from your intuition. That is your soul. So remember, there will be a lot of tests in our lives. There will be a lot of situations. But all those things are to increase the light inside the soul. This is what law of relativity tells us. There is always a relation between why it happens. Self-introspection is very important. I have shared the 18 principles of PSSM, which are the guidelines for my past 20 years spirituality. They are the solid foundation. So those 18 principles, if you can introspect every week, am I following everything? It will give you a lot of insights. It will keep you in the track. Otherwise, you will lose the track. So anything that happens in our life, there's always a relation. Why it is happening, we must find out. That will happen only when you introspect. So that is what law of relativity tells us. The law of polarity on the other side says there is always two sides. If you know some truth, it means only you know the half truth. If you want to understand what is law of polarity, you must take the example of a coin. One side of the coin is visible. It means there is another side. So wherever there is light, there is darkness. Wherever there is darkness, there is light. Wherever there is positivity, there is negativity. Wherever there is negativity, there is positivity. That is also called law of paradox. For example, truth and lies, both are same, only the degree matters. Good and bad, both are same, only the degree matters. Miraculous thinking, disastrous thinking, both are same, but the frequency matters. Frequency is the change. Both are thoughts, but what is the change? The frequency at which each operates has a change. The law of polarity says there's always the other side. That is why when you are low, you can become high. When you feel negativity, you can make it as a positivity. Because the opposite exists. When your whole life is in darkness, you can always find light. Why? Because the law of polarity says the opposite exists. When your life is deep inside darkness, the law of polarity says the opposite exists, that is hope. If you start looking for the light, if you start looking for the hope, you will reach the other side. No matter what quality, where you are, on which side, you can always come to the positive side. You can always come to the better side. You can always get up and fix the things because the law of polarity tells you that the opposite always exists. When you reach a state, maintaining is very important because the other side also exists. If you don't do an introspection, if you don't follow the principles regularly, you will reach the other side, which is the downside of the soul. So the soul has two sides, either experience or no experience. The mind has two sides, whether peaceful or no peace. The intellect has two sides, whether it's a knowledge or ignorance. The body has two sides, whether health or disease. And you always have two choices, whether to take an action or be in inaction, whether to perform a karma or not to perform a karma, whether to perform a good karma or a bad karma, whether to help a person or destroy a person, whether to care a person or ignore a person. So always the polarity exists. Since there is a polarity, both exist. And it is you who has to choose which side you can shift. No matter how dark is your life, no matter how deep dark is your mind, you can always move towards light. You can always move towards the positivity. So no need to worry. If there is a worry, it means opposite exists. No worry. So you must find a way to go there. There is never a dead end. There is never one choice. There is always two. That is what law of polarity tells you. And behind everything, there is a reason. That is what the law of relativity tells you. There is a relation between everything that happens in your life and that opposite always exists. It is you who has to choose that where you have to be, which side you have to shift. The ups and downs are nothing but the frequency shift. It can be words, it can be deeds, it can be person, it can be situation. Why does the soul chooses ups and downs? Because it wants more experience. With more experience, the soul bank becomes rich. The soul gathers a lot of light, a lot of insights to grow in all dimensions. Law of paradox is very important. Law of paradox is very confusing to the mind because one statement of law of paradox is, I am good, I am also bad. There is light and there is also darkness. You may get it out. If there is completely 100% light, from where do we get the darkness? One of our masters 20 years ago told me, in your room, you turn on lights. You think the room is completely full of light, but you see under the table, there will be some spots which are dark. So the light doesn't reach all the places. And you look into a dark room, somewhere in a corner, tiniest light will be existing. So it is never 100% light, it is never 100% dark. That is what the law of polarity tells you. Mind has both polarities, body has both polarities, the soul has both polarities. Your buddhi will tell you which side you have to be and to what extreme. This is what everybody must learn. We have seen what is law of divine oneness, how to see everybody as one. We have seen what is law of vibration. Every emotion has a vibration. Every emotion goes up and down. Then we saw a law of action. We have to take an action. That is how the manifestation will happen. Whatever you want in life, you have to take an action. Then we saw law of correspondence. Then we saw law of cause and effect, that is karma. Law of compensation. Law of cause and effect is that whatever you do will come back to you. But law of compensation tells you how much will come back. Both the calculations you need to understand. Then we saw law of attraction. We become like a magnet. What we are deep inside us will attract others, situations. Not outside. Outside the mind may act, but deep inside, whatever truly you are, that is what will reflect in your aura. That is the magnetic power. And yesterday we saw law of perpetual transmutation of energy. There's a continuous change of the energy, and there is a continuous shift in the energy. And today we saw law of relativity, that is a relation between everything that happens in our life. That happens that we can figure out only when you introspect. And finally, we saw law of polarity, that there is always two sides exist. There is nothing which has only one side. That is what law of polarity tells us. In the whole creation, if you see, there are always two sides. One on the upside, one on the downside. And you have to choose where you want to be. Why it exists? Because whenever you do a creation, both gets created. Whatever manifestation you do, you have to face the consequences. That is a statement. The consequences can be positive, negative. Somebody wants to manifest and get a lot of money. One or the other day it will happen. But later you have to face the consequences. In one of the movies I saw, one person wants all the knowledge of the universe in a single day. So he gets everything, but the consequence is he cannot digest. Everybody wants the third eye to open. Yesterday somebody messaged, they were doing some Kundalini meditation. The base chakras are not strong. The base chakras are not yet cleansed. Directly open the third eye. What happens? You will get into illusions, nightmares. Without foundation, if you build a building, what will happen? The slight, a storm, the whole building collapses. So my dear friends, remember, the laws of the universe are very important. Because in every day, in every decision we take, every word we speak, every act we do, every thought we release, if we understand all the 12 laws, we don't need to remember. We need to deeply understand. That's the difference. I'm so grateful there are people who are translating all these laws into multiple languages. Every day we are able to post. But I am telling all of you must take a pen and a paper, write down all the 12 laws and translate into your mother tongue. Then you will really understand the depth of it. Write it in a paper, translate it. The moment you translate, you go into the depth of the subject. That only the beauty can be understood by people who translate. It's the greatest gift. I personally translated many books, thousands of articles into magazine articles. So I know the depth of translation. That is how things go deep into every cell of our body. Today is 20th day. Tomorrow is the final day of the batch. Tomorrow, the final 2 laws we will discuss. Now let us get into meditation.